Your career has grown very quickly. What were some of the things you kind of kept front of mind? Coming up on the show today is Josh Marton, General Manager of Public Affairs and Marketing at Golf Australia. One more question on Rory. So he went to Masters in mid-April this year. A couple of weeks later, he come out saying he's come to the Oz Open. Was that reactionary to get him to the Oz Open, or was it already pre-planned and it just happened to work out amazingly well?
You know, James actually said this to me, who's one of my bosses at golf, that a lot of people's growth within organisations comes for that extra sort of 10 to 20% that you spend not doing your actual job. But I ended up doing it, and that helped me build relationships.
I remember the first thing I thought about you was, this guy wears a blazer every single day.
That is absolute rubbish. You have to just want to do a good job. People notice those things.
If you were, say, 21, 22, 23 again, and you're thinking about how can I break into sport? How can I differentiate myself and start to get noticed? What would you do in this day and age?
Do exactly what I did.
Hello and welcome to the SportsGrad podcast, the ultimate guide to make it in the sports industry, brought to you by Deakin University, home to the world's #1 sports science school. If you're looking to get started on your journey in sport, explore their study options today. Now, my name is Reuben Williams. If you're new to the show, I am the founder of SportsGrad, where we have helped people land 789 roles in the sports industry. This week, we're giving a shout out to Josh Dembo, who's a part of the SportsGrad Method program, who has recently picked up roles with the AFL as a stakeholder services officer and Kojo as a production coordinator as well. Now, on this podcast every week, I'll chat with people in the industry to find out how they got hired into dream jobs in sport. So if you want to learn how to break into the sports industry and grow your career, hit subscribe to the pod and subscribe to our newsletter for even more advice. Now, if you want to give yourself a competitive advantage in the job market and put your career on a rapidly new trajectory, like the trajectory that Josh has put himself on, then go to our website and apply for the next cohort of the SportsGrad Method program. All right, coming up on the show today is Josh Marton, General Manager of Public Affairs and Marketing at the PGA of Australia and Golf Australia. Josh was previously the head of communications at Cricket Australia, and prior to that, started his career in agency land with TGI Sport. Josh has recently wrapped up working across the Australian Open golf tournament, where he was part of the leadership team that brought Rory McIlroy to town and attracted a huge crowd down to Royal Melbourne over 4 days. Prior to working in golf, he's worked across motorsport, the Ashes, the Cricket World Cup, and Josh is one of the most impressive young professionals that you will ever meet and has been able to accelerate on an extremely steep trajectory. If you want to find out how he's been able to achieve head of and general manager positions at national governing bodies in his 20s as opposed to in your 40s, then stick around to hear all about his journey and everything he did to get to this place in his career. Josh is also a close friend of mine, and for those who know my story about experiencing sexual assault when I was employed at Cricket Australia, we were working together and he was one of the closest and most supportive people for me during that time. Not everybody knows how to respond or react when you share something like this with another person, but Josh was incredibly supportive for me during then. So quick shout out to Josh for the amazing human that he is and the support that he's shown me through that time. Grab a pen, enjoy this chat with Josh Marton. Hey guys, before we jump into the episode today, just a quick note to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Deakin University, home to the world's #1 sports science school. But whether you're into sports science, management, coaching, or business, Deakin gives you the chance to study what you love and turn it into a career. Josh, welcome to the SportsGrad podcast.
Thanks for having me, Reuben.
Now, to give people context to our relationship, you hold a place in one of the most exciting weeks of my life. So if we go back to March 2022 and work backwards, on 30th of March 2022 was the funeral of Shane Warne over the MCG. I went there with my dad. Go back a couple of days up before that, SportsGrad announced an investment raise. So we've got 2 massive things in 1 week already. Go back another couple of days, I was at the SCG for Buddy 1000 and streaming onto the field there. I'm like, this is all happening at once. Go back one more day and I'm at your wedding. And even amongst all those events, I still remember, still think Matt Lodge's speech was still the highlight of those 7 days. So it's great to finally have you in here and have this chat.
Thanks very much for having me. Looking forward to chatting. I was wondering where you were going with that and trying to work out when I got married because I thought you were talking about
I hope you remember that date.
I thought it was 23, so I'm glad that you said 22.
You've just wrapped up at the AO. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. Wrapped up the Australian Open and the Australian PGA Championship, so a couple of big weeks for golf in Australia, and both events went really well and were a lot stronger than last year. Both had their own unique things going on, lots of awful weather up in Brisbane that the team did an amazing job to navigate through. And then, the Australian Open was just enormous, all catapulted from Rory. And then, interesting to see by Sunday, see that kind of momentum transfer over to the rest of the event, which is really cool.
Amazing. Yeah. And I believe you brought in accreditation today. So one of the new traditions we've got on the show is a contribution to the lanyard wall that we've got here at SportsGrad House. Now, this is actually going to be the second AO accreditation we've got because Clayton Henderson brought one in from a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if you crossed paths with Clayton, but this one's a freshie, is that right?
Excellent. It is. And can I be honest with you? I actually stole it from Sammy Gribben's desk, who used to manage Clayton, because I left mine at home. And as I said to you, I'm not very nostalgic with my creds. I probably have been accredited probably 100 times at sporting events, and it's just not something that I cherish that much. And if I actually was to choose one that I had, I would have chosen my first event, which would have been the Quipsel 500 in Adelaide. But in lieu of that, you've got my/Slammy's access all areas pass to the Australian Open.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Sammy, and thank you, Clay.
And I will pay that back, Sammy, and I'll drop mine on your desk in case you are nostalgic.
Excellent. Well, we love to start our episodes with a few quickfire questions so that people can get to know you a little bit better. First one for you is, what was your first ever sports-related role?
I think it was umpiring. Does that count?
Yep.
Yeah, umpiring as a 13-year-old down on the Mornington Peninsula. So I did boundary umpiring for in the A grade, which I then went on to play a couple of games many years later, which was cool. And then I also did field central umpiring when I was, I would have been 12 or 13 or something like that. So I'd do the Saturday Arvo, then I'd do the Sunday morning for central umpiring, and then I'd play in the afternoon. So I played a lot of sport when I was young.
Full day of footy.
Yeah.
And what did you study at university?
I went on to study journalism and a Bachelor of Management and Marketing. So they both took very different amounts of time. My journalism degree took 3 years straight, and I ended up working during it. And then I ended up doing part-time for my other one, which took 7 years.
I recall we had a weekend away down in Lorne, and you had an exam on that weekend. And so I think the only spare space that we had for you to do your exam was in the bathroom. It was a great photo of you next to the bathtub tapping away doing your exam online.
I'd love to see it because I do not remember that. But COVID presented an opportunity to get through 3 or 4 subjects to finish it, which was awesome. I don't miss, and my wife will tell you, do not miss having to study and work at the same time. So I might do it again one day, but not anytime soon.
Fair enough. And what is one question that you like to ask people that you hire, or perhaps something that you like to sense test?
Definitely learning about this as I go through the process of hiring people over maybe say the last 5 years, have had that privilege, I would say, and definitely trying to get an understanding of people's temperament, their ability to work in a team, their ability to be flexible, and not saying that they have to be flexible and calm and all about teamwork. They're all great attributes, but we need to know what we need for that kind of role and then work out if those two things fit, or there might be some roles that are really task orientated and that doesn't matter so much, but finding a way to understand that is a real challenge because it's the most important thing in a team member. Mostly you can teach the knowledge and the specific functional areas of a job, but you can't really teach how to be a good person.
How do you test for that?
Good question. I think sometimes in tasks, trying to put people under pressure, put them under pressure in the interview and see how they handle that. Also ask lots of questions. But to be honest, a lot of the time is around referees and talking to people that you know are connected, because in sport, pretty much everyone knows everyone. Actually, I won't name names, but recently, one of the last people we hired, I did a few ring arounds, got a really good sense for her, and she's an absolute star. Just so happened it was probably the first time I did that it got back to her hiring manager prior to us actually offering her the job. So you got to be a bit careful on how you do that. But yeah, I mostly want to hear it from other people because we are inherently, I guess, lazy as humans. We want to know that the people are good people and that they're tested under pressure, and we want to hear that from someone that we know and trust, ideally. Yeah,
absolutely. And what is one book or podcast you'd recommend that has helped your career?
Definitely Peak Performance. Both the authors' names escape me. Brad Stulberg, I think, is one of them. It's an awesome book. One of the guys was a professional athlete or an amateur athlete, and he ended up burning out by the time he was 18 or 19. The other was a gun, just business person consultant, was advising to the White House before the age of 25, and they both experienced burnout. And the whole book gathers empirical and peer-reviewed studies about what it takes to be a high performer. It's just excellent book, and it just brings in lots of research, their own experiences. They both, one went on to be an author, one went on to be a high performance coach, and they partnered for this book. And it talks all about the combination of stress, like just manageable stress paired with rest equals growth as a formula. And they tell an awesome story of Roger Bannister, which sticks with me the most. First person to break the 4-minute mile, and when he did it, the week or 2 weeks before, he went and walked in the bush and went off the radar, didn't train. And that all was the most amazing thing ever. And he came out and did it. And it was because of that rest that he experienced that helped him actually achieve that. And for me, particularly earlier in my career, and even when I reflect on my very below par sporting career as an amateur competitor, definitely tried to work too hard and have got better, and having kids and having a wife helps give you that balance. And it's forced rest for me now. But even after the events, I can see lots of people in at work even today who are just knackered. And yesterday I took a day of annual leave and just hung out with my kids and rested, and I feel so much better today. I probably wouldn't do that without the book.
Yep. So you're going to give your best podcast performance now that you're well rested.
Exactly. I knew this was coming as of yesterday afternoon and decided to make sure I was well rested.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I remember around this time last year, I think you asked me, what are you doing for Christmas? And I just said, I replied with, I'm working straight through. Might get a break around Labor Day in March. And you responded with a link to that book and were like, Reuben, take a break because of this very reason. And I did work straight through, I'm sorry to say, but I probably need to refer back to that book now that have got a bit more leeway.
Did you read the book?
No, I haven't. I need to.
Oh, man.
I'll get around to it.
Unsolicited advice from me, which is pretty standard and a good growth area for me.
I know. I'm always open to a book recommendation, so I will
make sure you
get to it.
It's very good.
If you could try another job for a day, what would it be?
All right. I know our friend Sean's brother is in a equivalent type role to me at Essendon, and I think I would be interested to see if I could do that without being so absorbed because I care so much about the Essendon Football Club. That would just be interesting. I think nothing else really came to top of mind for me, but I see lots of people working in golf that are just so desperately passionate about golf that it is a really strong point for them, but it also I can see as a bit of a challenge because you care so much about the decision making, and so I'd be interested to see how I'd handle that.
Do you think that helps you do your job better at the moment because you are perhaps slightly removed from the sport?
Definitely, yeah. And there would be others that might come across this and think, well, he doesn't know enough about golf, and that hurts you sometimes, and it definitely does sometimes. But I think overall better that I wasn't a real golf person. There's a lot, golf in the past, there was a lot of just hardcore golf people. And it's one of those sports now that I'm addicted to it officially. You can get so insular on it, and it is a bit of a selfish sport. But it can also be amazing at connecting people. And there are a lot of those people. They're often the people that run golf clubs and sit on golf club boards, and understandably, even just completely without knowing, you're making decisions that probably benefit your love and desire to play as much golf as you can. Being a little bit removed from it is good. I know enough about it now to be able to handle most things, but certainly not like some other colleagues who just know it inside out.
Very relevant example now that both these people are at Golf Australia, but I I remember chatting with Antonia Beggs about when she got the head of fan engagement role at Cricket Australia. And she was being interviewed by the now CEO of Golf Australia, James Sutherland, who was in the chair at cricket at the time. And James asked, this is Antonia feeding back to me, James asked Anty, like, what happens if, the sight screen breaks down in the middle of a test match and, there's a delay in play. And Anty replied with, what's a sight screen? And Anty was like, look, if you want another cricket person, there's plenty of them out there. I'm coming from the golf world over in Europe. I bring a different set of skills and perspectives. If you want that, I think it could add a lot to the table. But, I'm not a cricket person. And it worked for her. She got the job. So nice. I agree that, having a slight removal from the sport is beneficial for you.
She found her way back to golf and was absolutely pivotal in the Australian Open being successful. So and probably a good example of where it was very helpful to know golf inside out to be able to deliver an event of that scale with the resourcing that we have available to us. So there's pros and cons.
Yeah. Well, she's enough of a professional who I could imagine can balance both sides.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, you mentioned to me when we were at the golf last week upstairs that you had perhaps one of your biggest ever career highlights where you're hosting a panel with Rory McIlroy, Cam Smith, Minwoo Lee, and been facilitated by Jared Waitley. What made that such a pinch me moment for you? Hey guys, quick one. Are you either A, dreading going back to work tomorrow, or B, on a mission to fulfill your potential and get there as quickly as possible? If so, then you need to apply for the SportsGrad Method program. The program is designed to help you get a full-time job in sport as quickly as possible, and inside it, I distill the lessons I've learned from asking over 300 people how they got a job in sport. I'm talking professionals from the AFL, Premier League, cricket, NBA, Olympics, you name it. And I've combined it with the methods that not only got me hired by Cricket Australia before graduating, but also helped me double my salary during COVID. SportsGrad has helped people land over 700 roles in sport, and this program takes the guesswork out of an industry where most people think you need to get lucky. To apply for the SportsGrad Method program, head to www.sportsgrad.com.au/program. All right, back to the episode.
Yeah, I don't usually get really starstruck by athletes. They're just people at the end of the day, and I'm conscious that they don't want to be working with people that feel starstruck. So it's kind of the benefit of working in sport, and it's really cool to see, but never kind of blows me away in that sense. But just working with Jared, we made the decision to get him to host this panel, which was pretty unusual going back to the golf and sports thing. Like most golf people would have been like, why the hell do you need Jared Waitley to do that? Like just use your MC, use someone else, easy. But we asked him to do it. He said yes. He fitted it into his schedule before going to the Brisbane test. Had a half-hour conversation with him, which was just, that was actually pinch me. It was just asking me all the right things, like doing, it's essentially just a transactional gig of him doing this interview. And we talked the week before. He asked me what Minwoo and Adam Scott were saying at their presses. He asked me background about how Rory came about to happen. Did his research, and you could tell in his questions, just had absolutely done his research. Got there to the venue a couple of hours early. Just absolute professional. And literally, you could hear. We unfortunately were tight for time in the gala, and so people were finishing their entrees, and people were like really gently trying to put their forks and knives down, and you could hear it. You could hear every single one going down because of how encapsulated everyone was in the chat. And he just did an amazing job. And for me, I grew up, my parents used to have the radio on every single day. They still do if I happen to find myself there before 9 a.m, which is very rare these days, but they still do. So I always grew up with radio. I used to be the guy, I'd go to the footy with my mates up from Mornington, go to the footy, we might have been like 12, 13, sit there all together with a group of us, and I'd have my headphones in listening to the radio. I used to listen to Jared, listening to the cricket when he was ABC man. It was just cool being able to work with him, and just cool to see the outcome of it. It was just such a special moment. I saw Fox. We kind of sent it out to everyone because it was our first moment of actually hearing Rory speak, which was really cool. And I don't know what our numbers did, but I saw Fox just posted the whole 30-minute chat on YouTube. And at that point in time, a couple of days ago, it had 50,000 views. So if you like sports and interviews and you like golf, go listen to that, because Jared got a lot out of those three guys.
So it sounds like the pinch me moment really came from Jared himself, as opposed to the athletes he was talking to, and being able to get under the hood of his brain and how he processes and constructs an interview like this.
Yeah, it was the phone call with him when I was up at the PGA, and even the things I was thinking about telling him that he just had no right or need to know, he asked me. Like asked me about something that someone said at a presser. I was like, I don't even know how you found that. 100%. And I also shared with you, I had a bit of a pinch me moment with Rory. I'd say he is like mega star athlete, and just how grateful he was for how we tried to support his arrival and his time in Australia this week. His team were awesome to deal with. So that was as much of a kind of starstruck sports person moment I've had probably as well. So 2 in a week.
Well, what did that Monday to Wednesday look like? Because we're chatting off air. There was over 100 media requests for Rory that week, and you mentioned the gala dinner is just one of them. But from a marketing and comms point of view, what do those few days in the lead up to the tournament look like?
Yeah, I think people underrate the whole Rory thing just in general. Even if Rory hadn't won the Masters, how he won the Masters, we wouldn't have had, I don't think, the Australian Open that we had in the end. The way that he won that, how relatable it was, that then resulting in him completing the Grand Slam, just unbelievable. Us announcing it only weeks later, it kind of got leaked a few times, so the momentum on it just built to this completely uncontrollable zone, which was so good for us. And literally from that time through to him coming, we've had requests every single week to speak to him one-on-one. And, I think access to athletes in Australia is really good. That's what media are used to. So they ask the question, could I chat to Rory on My World of Sports, or at 6 p.m. tonight, or our print media cohort, can we just get Rory for 5 minutes? We tried to do it over at the Open, just didn't work out because he's incredibly busy. He's playing golf almost every single week, genuine statesman, plays around the world, doesn't need to play in the DP World Tour, won his 7th Race to Dubai title this year, and he's going into uncharted territories as a player. And it's just difficult to get a hold of him, / he just doesn't usually do that. The access isn't the same for these guys. He's just massive. So, by Monday and Tuesday this week, the request for him one-on-one probably got a little tiresome, particularly for the team, just to be like, hey, you're going to get him when you get him. He's doing the gala dinner, and he's doing his open media conference on Wednesday, where he infamously was asked about his view of Royal Melbourne, only to answer that it's not even the best golf course in Melbourne, in the same sentence reiterating that it's actually a top 10 golf course in the world, but he has a special place in his heart for Kingston Heath for whatever reason. But we had lots of requests for him. Lots of I was there with him doing the content piece on Monday afternoon. Same thing. Didn't need to go around to 5 sandbelt courses to play them, to play a par 3 at each, but he did, and that was really cool. So Monday to Wednesday is just lots of organising, meetings, talking to people, trying to promote the event. Our team has a broad range of responsibilities across marketing, dealing with the media, everything, content you can think of to try and promote the event.
Well, that little clip might help promote next year's event coming to Kingston Heath.
100%. No, it would be very, very useful. Maybe we'll make a TVC out of it. Him saying that. Plus, we have him playing the famous signature par 3 15th at Kingston Heath for that content piece. So we'll put those two things together and it'll go pretty well. Yeah,
it's kind of like the AFL slapping Ken Hinkley on the wrist for having a go at Jack Ginnivan and then coming back the next year and using it to promote their gather round.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But we certainly, Royal Melbourne 1 was just unbelievable, the golf course. And they were fantastic to deal with. So I'm not sure is his best timing. But I think most of the people I talked to there understood that, everyone has their views on golf courses. There's no, even the official rankings that are done, like that say the composite courses, in the top 3 golf courses in the world. It's all very subjective. So everyone's absolutely allowed to have their own opinion on it.
One more question on Rory. So he went to Masters in mid-April this year. A couple of weeks later, you come out saying he's come to the Oz Open. Was that reactionary to get him to the Oz Open, or was it already pre-planned and it just happened to work out amazingly well?
Yeah, very, very well told story that James tells, that he had a handshake from Rory's manager that he was coming to play during the Masters, and it wasn't signed. And then they came back, by the Wednesday or Thursday after the event to say, yeah, it's still all good, it's still all happening. So that was a long, long, long time in the making. Antti Beggs, who's our GM of major events, worked with Rory and his team across Ryder Cups and lots of DP World Tour events. Our team at the PGA of Australia and the PGA Tour of Australasia also spend a lot of their time working with player agents, working with the DP World Tour's player relations team to work out on a regular basis who's keen to come to Australia. We had world number 30 Marco Penge play the PGA this year out of nowhere because they've just worked so hard to make sure that Australia is front of mind when it comes to playing golf. The schedule's difficult. They have a huge US season and a European season, so it's hard to get these guys. It takes a lot of effort. So that was a big team effort across Australian golf.
And then what did those few weeks look like from your point of view? Did all attention just turn to how can we get ready to release Rory?
Yeah. Yes. There was, it was kind of all being done on the go. So never really had the clarity until we had the signature and we could go out and announce it pretty much. It kind of got out there from a comms point of view. We are only dealing with what we're being told, and we can only really act once we know it's happening. And always is the case, these things are coming out, without our control, and you can sit there and be kind of frustrated that it's happening. I'm not that kind of person. I'm more chat the better. And there was lots of chat before we'd even signed him, and as long as that didn't impact his desire to sign and play in the event, it probably played a massive role in the event being successful because there was a lot of momentum building just from this organic chat going on. We had Today Show camped outside Royal Melbourne. This was before we'd even announced Royal Melbourne for the event. We had Today Show camped outside of Royal Melbourne before we'd even announced that Royal Melbourne was going to be the home of the event. I'm trying to remember. I think that was right. Yeah, I think we announced Royal Melbourne, Rory McIlroy, home of the Australian Open 2025, all in one go. So that was a pretty big announcement, and from a momentum point of view, we haven't really looked back since then.
Well, it was a great event. It was great to be able to see it in person, and on socials looked amazing. The weather turned out. Shame Ken Smith couldn't get over the line from an Australian point of view in the end, but overall, it looks like a great success. Let's turn our attention to your career now, because the place that you've got to at the moment in your career is very admirable. And last week I had Joel Morrison in this chair who he had become the acting head of the Big Bash Leagues at a young age, went on to become CEO of Cricket Northern Territory by 29 as well. And it was interesting to kind of get his take on his approach to his career. And you're not too dissimilar in the fact that you've reached a head of role at I think 27, and then you go on to become GM at golf at 28 as well. And would love to hear some of the approaches that you've taken to get to this point in your life. But before we do that, can we get a bit of a snapshot of your roles you've had from say uni, perhaps early uni, because I know you stretched that out, to now? What were some of those early years and positions that you held?
I had in year 12, I worked out that I thought I was going to do journalism. So I ended up getting an internship, and I don't think it runs anymore, but we did a thing called the Research Project. I don't know if you did that.
No.
Yeah, maybe it was just a South Australia thing, because I did the end of my schooling in South Australia, and it was called the Research Project. It was a whole semester of just looking into something you were interested in. My research question was how to write an article. Can you believe? Did a whole year 12 subject. Maybe that's why I had a good ATAR, because that was there's probably a reason that doesn't exist anymore.
So ultimate meta skill.
Yeah, it was unreal. So I spent some time with the local paper Mount Barker, where the one of the gather round matches was a couple of years ago for those that were watching the AFL. So the Courier in Mount Barker was the paper. I did some stuff with them. I did some stuff with the local paper in Strathalbyn, and then that led to getting a casual job with them. Yeah, from pretty much when I would have been 18. I basically was like, I'm going to study journalism. Can I come do some writing? And they hired me as a casual. Jeff Pistola.
You reached out to them?
Yeah, well, I reached out to them for the research project to start with, and then once that had finished, year 12 finished, I got in at uni to journalism, and then I said to them, is there something I could come do? So they were on the border of reporting on stuff happening in Strathalbyn where I lived. So they didn't actually report in our footy league completely, but Strathalbyn and Langland Creek, who were our arch rival at Strathalbyn, were in the zone. So they basically committed and said, yep, we'll pay you for one shift a week, come in and write about your team. And I was at that point playing for them in the ones. So
you like try to grab a story whilst you're like, getting a hard ball at the same time.
Yeah, I wasn't getting the ball very much. That's pretty easy, but it was more like traditional match reporting. So pretty easy. Although I do remember once when we won the flag. Yeah, twice it happened actually. Once when we won the flag, I was having on the Monday, and I'd started working. I'll come back to that. But I'd started working, and I was having to do work for TLA, and I was also having to try and submit the match report for when we won the flag. It was very difficult after the celebrations, I must say. So I did that for a few years, and ended up I did 1 week of full-time work with them at some point during uni, which was actually one of the realizations when I did that I didn't want to just study journalism. So I did journalism in the first semester of my first year of uni while I was doing that job at the Courier. And yeah, I just realised pretty quickly then that I was interested in how the entire business was run, not just writing stories and finding stories. But as in terms of having a comms role, so much better to have studied journalism and actually understand how it works. I can loosely pretend that I worked as a journalist, even though I basically worked, 1 day a week. I did a lot of sub-editing of other stories that came in because they took a lot of copy from volunteers, whether it be the sailing or the cycling. So I got pretty good at working out what the formula of that writing style was. But it taught me lots of things about writing, even though particularly at a local paper like that, the editor, Jeff Pistola, sports editor, is still there. And the sports journalist, Ben Goldfinch, is still actually there. And they had a specific way of writing, which was very succinct. I think sometimes has led to my writing being a little bit too succinct and direct.
Come across as blunt in emails.
Yes, sometimes, which is also a time thing as well. But so yeah, it was cool working with them. And probably the other thing, so at the same time, our footy record for our club, I started doing because the president used to do it. So I did a bit of writing in that just to get my experience going. I ended up being on a committee member of the footy club, and then that led to me being introduced to the president of the footy league. And I said, could I do the writing for the footy record in general, for the league during the final series? So I started doing that, which I have a great moment. I actually rucked against Ian Perry when he went back and played for Encounter Bay, and I riled him up a little bit in the last round of the year, and he really got into me. At one point, he had me on the ground. I kicked a goal, and I got in his face, and he really let me know about it. Next centre bounce, bang, knee straight in my guts, and he was right into me. I then later had to interview him about winning the male medal, which was the league best and fairest. And to win it, he actually needed 3 votes for the last round, of which he played against me, and he got it. So I then had to talk to him about that game and his season. And then I think we played against them the next week. So that was a little bit strange for all those things, to be honest. I reckon even my coach, interesting way to start with your coach of your team, when he first got the job at Strathalbyn, I interviewed him for the paper. So that was probably a bit foreign to him, seeing one of his players having to talk to him in that fashion. So but I ended up with the footy record. I started with writing. The next year I was doing writing and then selling advertising and writing advertorials.
How old are you at this point?
Would have been 18, 19, 20.
Okay.
Yeah. So
then who told you to go out and sell advertising?
No, I think I just said, because I think the league was doing it, and I just said, can I do that as well? And then I got paid. So the first year I didn't get paid. The second year I got paid.
Gotcha.
And then the third year I said I was doing a subject with some friends at uni, and we were learning about InDesign and pagination. I said, why don't we just do the whole thing? So I ended up, we did the whole thing, and I listed Jackie and Betty, who I'm still friends with, who was at the same wedding you were at. She's at the AFL now doing great things, and she I don't even know if she would remember, but they all helped me with the pagination and design, and everything would come in late, and like moving footy teams around and, and same thing. I was in one of those teams, which is also weird. So not sure that was the best preparation for my footy at that point working some late nights, doing uni, doing all the work and then trying to do that. So that probably was a good indication of being interested in more just the writing and production side and, being keen to understand the whole gamut of things.
Yeah. And so I believe you arrive at TLA after that. What did they think of the approach that you'd put into these fundamental years of your life?
So, it was kind of all happening at the same time. So at the end of my second year of uni, it was actually the newspaper. I started their first social media accounts. That's how old I am. Started their first Facebook accounts and they couldn't quite get over how do we sell the paper without giving it away? So literally to the point where they would write like half a Facebook post and then want to do the 3 dots and be like, you can't even write a full headline without having to go buy the newspaper.
The original paywall.
Times have changed a lot since then. So I was struggling. I didn't really know how to cut through with that. And I wasn't doing a social media subject at the time. It was a whole social media subject. So I asked a lecturer. They then put me in touch with the lecturer in the social space. I went and spoke to her and then she said, I actually think you'd be really good for an internship that was going. And a guy, Steve Cox, who I later worked for, had asked them to refer people for internships. So I end up having a coffee with him and he ends up, probably because of that experience, taking on a second intern. He'd already taken someone on. And little did we know, we're probably both vying for I actually saw it the other day, I will not repeat it, a very, very small amount of money for a summer contract job. And I don't know if it was supposed to be 40 hours a week, but it was certainly more than that in the end. It was I was getting paid more money doing all the odd things. I was also working in a cafe doing some cleaning. I was getting paid a lot more doing that than working full-time in my uni break. And then I did that and that ended up being 3 months and it was over the Quipsel 500. So working with Steve on the Quipsel 500, which was just awesome, such a great opportunity. And then I kept doing stuff kind of intermittently through that whole year to the point then when I ended up, as soon as uni finished, I took a full-time role with them, which was great. Yeah.
I know by the time that you arrived at Cricket Australia when we met, I remember the first thing I thought about you was this guy wears a blazer every single day. Was that surely you remember this?
I think we had to.
No, we didn't.
in the first month that I worked for Cricket Australia, we had to wear a suit. That was James's, my now boss's, very extraordinary rule. And apparently it was only a month earlier you had to wear a tie.
Yeah, well, I remember when it got slashed, you didn't take the blazer didn't come off. And even when everyone had their shirt, you had a blazer on. I reckon half the organisation will verify me on this.
That is absolute rubbish.
But on this,
I did whatever I was needing to conform, basically.
Anyway, my point is your career has grown very quickly, whether by blazer or not. But I'd love to know what were some of the things you kind of kept front of mind in the way that you carried yourself through the first part of your career.
Good question. It was all a little bit different. At TLA, it was just it was ESP at the time, then turned to be TLA, is now TGI Sport. For those that have seen what TGI do, they do an awesome job. We still work with them, and I've always worked with them no matter where I've been. I work with them at cricket, and one of my good friends, Sam Fleming's still there, doing an awesome job with Wildcard. And so, there was a very much work extremely hard. And I probably got burnt out in the end. And a lot of people did because he just worked so hard.
Need that book. Peak Performance.
Exactly. I didn't have it. At that time. So that's why it resonated with me. I also had a bit of a life moment with my brother passing away. So all those things together, I ended up then going to Fox Sports, and that was a good experience for me because it was very understimulating. It was in the commercial team, essentially integration, working with partners to bring their sponsorships to life in the broadcast. And it just probably wasn't the right fit for me, but it's helped me with commercial acumen and understanding what actually happens in that space, and worked with amazing people. And then I ended up going back to cricket, leveraging relationships I had with certain people to get that role. I didn't think I'd go back into comms, but it was kind of too good a role. Corporate communications manager. Of course, I was wearing a blazer. I had to deal with plenty of important people. So I never thought about this that much. And if 100% I would tell myself to slow down. I didn't need any like encouragement in that sense, and probably would have put a lot of people off being way too driven. And I reckon that was probably the case at Fox, because at TLA you had to be like that to have any kind of cut through. And it wasn't like an intentional thing they put on the wall. Like you have to have initiative. It's just you got given the work. If you were doing good at your job and you had the propensity to work hard, you just get given more stuff. So you kind of just naturally do it.
Yep.
Then when I got to Fox, it was probably viewed as a negative, I would say. And I remember having the people I've worked with now, I've never really retold this story, like, you know, having a cut back on communication because I was probably too full on for some people. It's like, yeah, that doesn't need that level. Then same thing when I got to cricket, it did need that level because it was incredibly full on time for the game coming off the back of what happened in Cape Town. I think my third day we announced Kevin Roberts as the new CEO, and that was pretty full on. The ethics review findings, the India tour when we had half a squad. I worked on the pink test with the McGrath Foundation, which was awesome, but also pretty full on. So it was a full on few years, and there was a lot of change going on at cricket at that time. And I think I just worked really hard and probably was pretty flexible, I would say, at that time. And I recall, you know, one of those like rookie of the year type things, like those things end up being helpful, I think. And, you know, James actually said this to me, James Sutherland, who's one of my bosses at golf, that a lot of people's growth within organisations comes for that extra like sort of 10 to 20% that you spend not doing your actual job. And I think at cricket, like I ended up doing stuff in the charity space that maybe wasn't necessarily my job, but I ended up doing it, and that helped me build relationships with like the broader team at Cricket Australia, external people. And yeah, I just kind of kept assuming responsibility. And probably at the time I was seeking it, but I didn't really know what I wanted, I don't think. And it's funny, the one person that's properly told me that like, you're not ready, slow down, like you're trying to go too quick, was then the person that ended up taking me over to golf, which was Karina Kaiser. So it's pretty ironic. But I wish people did that more to me, because I look at it now with 2 kids and moving so quick. I definitely didn't need to move so fast, and it ends up being lots of work. My wife often says, oh, it just doesn't matter whatever job you're going to do, you just always work this much. It's like, no, I actually realise now that I worked too much then. But then in the end, that's what's probably helped me fast track things. And working, you know, I basically worked a whole full-time year in my last year of uni. So most people are taking breaks at that point in time, which is more than fair enough.
Well, from the outside looking in, when we were at cricket together, I always did admire the way you went about it, but it sounds like it's come through a combination of that sort of inherent curiosity and initiative that you showed over in South Australia, and then throw that into the fire of an agency where, you know, if you don't win the work, then the work goes away, and perhaps your job is attached to that, kind of led to the work ethic that you brought to, you know, the later part of your career.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think at agency, to get back then, like if you think you should be paid more, everyone does, but particularly then you weren't paid a lot, and you kind of needed to win work to kind of justify that. So yeah, potentially that's where it came from. But I also think, yeah, like I don't have a very traditional family upbringing, like lots of hardship, and I think that's a bit of a deep down motivator to just want to be able to provide for your family. And and I think some people are just born with the desire to do lots. Like I'm a very busy person. Again, having a wife and kids is useful for me, because otherwise I'll just go all the time. And even we're Wednesday today, 2 days after the events, and my rest day yesterday, I took my kids around the city and walked about 12 Ks in the end, and snuck in 9 holes of golf. And so I'm not great at resting, but resting means different things for me. Resting, like yesterday I didn't do any work. I maybe did a few phone calls, and that was the rest I needed to just recharge the batteries a bit to finish off the year strongly.
Well, I remember during our time at CA, and this is a story that I tell the people in our program regularly, because we're trying to encourage them to go out and pitch themselves more often and show them how to do it. And at Cricket Australia had an idea for a campaign for the T20 World Cup.
One of the great handballs this. I look forward to the story. Go on.
And at this point in time, I never pitched anything in my life before. So I thought, how do you get an idea over the line? Well, probably just go straight to the top. So I went up to Kevin Roberts' EA and said, can I have some time with Kev? I've got an idea. And workshop the idea for a while and ended up getting time with Kev. But the point of this story is because when it eventually got to pitching it, I was shitting myself. But in the room was Kevin, the CEO, the COO, the GM of Corporate Affairs, and yourself. And so
I don't remember this.
I remember it vividly because
I hope I was kind.
You were kind. I was packing my DAX in there, but I remember walking away from that thinking like, these three executives of Cricket Australia clearly like respect yourself incredibly highly. So well done to you for getting to the point where you do get the opportunities that you have done at your age.
Thank you. Can we talk about the outcome of that?
Sure.
It was a good idea. Don't get me wrong, but it took a lot of work to execute.
Right. I kind of got I got left out of it. I wanted to get involved.
You're probably not clear on that because you just handball. You say, hey, Josh and everyone else, go get this job done. It was actually...
But I was pleading with my manager, like, please let me get more involved. And they're like, no, it's for the marketing team. I'm like, all right.
Would have loved to have you.
What happened?
I actually think it's still on my Instagram. I don't post a lot on Instagram, but I often see, because it's not that long ago, it would have been like, what?
It was 2020.
Five years ago. A photo of me and Em, and like we had an Instagram filter of us watching the girls in the 2020 World Cup. And we end up having like yellow zinc on, and like it's for our watch party. And I literally forced some of my friends around to have a watch party because that was your idea to do that. It went okay. It's pretty hard. The watch party thing, I think, is everyone tries to do it. It's pretty hard to do it on scale and have any type of like control because you can't physically go out and deliver 1,000 events. It's impossible. So you're relying on individuals to go and do it. And so we did TGI, TLA, my former employer. Employer. They helped bring that to life with us.
I remember Matt Lodge pitching, here's what we're going to do and how we're going to roll it out. And that was kind of like the last I saw of it.
Oh, that's poor from us to not keep you in the loop on that. But I mean, to be fair, that was a pretty hectic time around the T20 World Cup, and I'm sure there was a bit of resentment in there from me and us. Kevin basically saying, that's a good idea, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Which there was a bit of that around that time. Just, there was a lot that went into that, right? And Nick Hockley, who went on to be CEO, had a great vision for that event and achieved that, did amazing things for the game. And, we executed on some good ideas like the one you had.
So I remember Kev saying, great idea, Reuben, but I've got some selling to do on your behalf. Pitching it to Anthony's department.
At that point, comms was separate from marketing. But we worked closely with Pan Ward to kind of bring it to life. She did a great job as well. But it is, those things are hard when people outside of your department have ideas and like done with the best intention. But it's not like you did it 12 months prior to the event. I reckon it was like 3 or 4 months. And I'm a bit of a realist and pragmatist in those things. And I think at the time I probably thought we're not probably going to be able to do that very well based on the timeframes that we have. So sometimes that can be a downfall of mine. But you just got to surround yourself with other more optimistic, creative people like you who come up with the ideas. And I actually famously told the McGrath Foundation I didn't think that the virtual pink seats would work very well during COVID. I was proven to be very wrong on that.
Everyone's doing virtual seats now.
They were before their time.
Yeah.
And then like tripled fundraising that year. So I enjoy telling that story.
Well, I got what I needed out of that pitch. So sorry.
Oh, you didn't even know what happened.
No, I tried to follow up and get the post-campaign report, but they never shared it with me.
Did you follow me?
Yeah. Oh, well.
Well, you should have come to me.
We'll find the numbers somewhere.
No, fine. They were good. Excellent. Yeah, it was worth doing. Yeah. Yeah, I actually missed the T20 World Cup for one of my wife's best friend's weddings. So I don't know if we posted from there, but I remember watching with Pip on the way back from regional Perth or regional WA.
Yep.
Watching it on our phones and just watching it be absolutely mental.
Yeah. Well, Pip was the person who I constructed the idea with. So I hope she got her.
Really?
Yeah. Because we came out of this women and girls participation workshop, and it was like a Shark Tank type event, and all the ideas got ranked. I think Pippinau's came like 6th or 7th.
Yeah, okay.
But I was like, I don't care. I think
we're going to the CEO.
We're going to the CEO. And we ended up there.
Nice.
Times have kind of changed in terms of, how people, I guess in terms of the opportunities people have to build a career for themselves. If you were, say, 21, 22, 23 again, and you're thinking about how can I break into sport? How can I differentiate myself and start to get noticed? What would you do in this day and age?
Do exactly what I did previously. And because I missed out a bunch of things that I did in between, like in my first year of journalism, like writing for all these random publications. And, the bit that I didn't tell about the ESP story was that it was me and another guy who interned at the same time. And it was
ESP being TLA before they were TLA.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was basically turned into a contest between one of us was going to get this contract opportunity. And I reckon the thing I did was put together like a PR pitch list, and I just formatted all the tables really correctly. I did it in like no time, and I sent it back to Steve. And I think at that point, Steve was like, for him, and I can relate to it now, I need help. I have no money. I need someone who's enthusiastic and can do a good job. And so there's getting the internships. That's great. You have to do that. But then you have to do a good job when you're in there. And I don't know how we expect people to do a good job when they don't have people like educating them and helping them. There's a person, Mariella, her name is, who's doing some awesome work at the moment in the golf space, where she's trying to build programs for people who don't have the support as marketers in golf clubs, because she worked in a marketing membership role at a golf club and just had no support. It was just expected to be able to be an expert in driving more membership numbers. So one is like you have to go and get experience no matter what you do. All the young people that we've hired, or mostly all of them, they had something they'd done. We've got some absolute young superstars. One of them, Flynn McCullum, he's an absolute jet, and he'd worked. So we hired him this time last year. He'd done casual work in the social team for the Herald Sun, done casual work in the social team for Channel 7. It's like two amazing brands that he'd done work with, had glowing referees because he'd done a good job. It was like no-brainer. He stood out by that far in that cohort of people. Like that far. We've just hired someone, her name's Erin Pierce. She starts with us at the start of next year. She'd been doing work with, she had like, I guess, a full-time role with a footy league out here in Victoria somewhere. She's got something to be able to say, hey, like this is essentially a grad role, basically, for us. And we're not like the other sports. We're not enormous, but we'd prefer to not hire a grad that has no experience whatsoever. And, it's a very competitive market, and we've been lucky to get someone like Erin, I think, with her experience on paper. But you have to get the experience. You have to like stand out in that job so you have referees. Because you don't think at the time, I think at the time I wouldn't even realise how important doing a good job with Steve was for the next job that I got. So then when I decided at TLA that I didn't want to work there anymore and I was knackered, that I had some good referees to help me get the next thing I was looking for. Or, at the time I went to take the job at Fox, someone else was talking to me about a job because I'd had an awesome interaction with them on a project that we'd both worked on. So you just can't underrate every step that you take, every like good experience you have with someone is going to count in the long run. And sport is just so small, like everyone knows everybody basically, and any chance you get to impress in an organic way, just by doing a good job, being a good person, working hard within what you define hard to be, then it should be a pretty simple formula.
Yeah. So you almost want to go about your career as though you're constantly being interviewed for the next role.
Yeah, basically. But it's got to be done in an authentic way. Yeah, you have to just want to do a good job.
Yep.
And that's everything. That's from even cutting corners in your existing job or even in your volunteer thing. Like people notice those things. Older people more so than younger people. Like I think the younger, sort of mid, like 30 to 40-year-old managers or execs or, people that are leading teams are probably a bit more forgiving. But you learn you learn from the very experienced people some really good things. And I think how they observe people's behaviour and how they observe people's just like ethics and principles to do things is a good observation. And
one of the things that we tell people is that you want to work backwards from the interview answer that you want to give in your next role and think about, what would I love to say when I arrive at that point in time? You never know when it's going to be. And then go and do the answer that you would like to give. Because we see a lot of people getting an opportunity, but just, sitting in it or, doing what they're told. And they get to the end of it like, I don't really know what I did. I was there for a while, but I didn't do anything.
That's such a good point, because you have to, if you did that, then you don't have those people that experience great things working with you either. So you've got no one's calling that person that just interviewed you.
Yeah.
To say, and going back to Flynn, I got a call from a person that sits behind me, Beck. I got a call from her because she's a family friend of his to say, I have heard Flynn has gone for it. He's just a beautiful kid. It's like, yes, please. Sign him up.
There's a guy called Jesse Gerritsen who applied for a comms role at Cricket Australia recently and came up with a bit of a PR campaign for himself to try and get his name out there and send across some interesting different things to help him stand out. Have you had any of this sort of stuff come across your desk in the past and has it worked for hiring people like that?
Jesse actually applied for one of our roles and he wasn't quite the right fit for us, but he got an interview purely on how he positioned himself.
There you go.
Yeah, purely on how he positioned himself, for sure.
How did he go about that?
He just did a bit of a deck, and there's probably, say for someone like him, you need that standing out thing to then be paired with having great work experiences with someone. I still think the number one thing to getting a job is having that person or being so well connected and having created like an echo of good experiences that Jesse could say, hey, I can see 3 ways removed that you connected to Josh. Can you go have a chat? Do you remember Sam Berglund?
Yeah.
Like he never ended up working with us, but we stayed connected and he did a great job of staying connected. And that was purely just off the basis of you and Jack.
Jack Lloyd?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you just saying, yeah, he's a good bloke, look after him. And, where we had lots of chats and he eventually got a job outside of what he was doing. I can't exactly remember where. But
I remember when I introduced Jack to you back in probably 2019 when Jack was coming out of uni. So it's come full circle now.
Oh, there you go. I don't have a great memory. Particularly, there's lots has happened in that time.
Yep.
I'm a dad of 2, so you'll have to remind me of things that I don't remember. But I think I would just absolutely volunteer, do things unpaid, but you've got to do a good job while you're doing it because you're trying to create this footprint of good experiences and goodwill for people to then help you out when you need it.
What about say you're going about your job, doing as best as you can, come up with different projects and ideas. What are your thoughts on sharing it on LinkedIn as you go? Does that have an impact on employers or is it a waste of time?
Great question. I don't really know the answer to that, to be honest.
Well, I guess, do you see it when other people do it?
Yeah. I think I get served all the stuff from people that we work with. So to answer your question though, if someone we were looking to hire had a string of really strong content that was team orientated, talked about their experiences, that would be helpful. Definitely. If it was them just sitting there talking about themselves and how good they are, not so much.
Yeah.
So I've been contemplating what I do off the back of all the major events. It's I don't really just want to sit there and say I did this or our team did this. So I'm thinking about maybe a top 5 type thing of awesome decisions that were made that people would never see. One of those was on Thursday morning last week. Anty and the team decided to open the gates because the gates were opening at 6:30. Rory was teeing off at 7:05, and there was literally 3,000 people at the gates. There were probably a ton of people that hadn't bought tickets. And they just opened the gates and let them through to get to the first tee. Now, she saved us a whole day of work and a lot of reputational risk because it just would have taken forever. So I'm thinking of doing something like that for LinkedIn because, LinkedIn's interesting, isn't it? It's a tough balance of talking about selling yourself, which is the whole point, but doing it in a way that doesn't come across like you're just telling people you're good.
Yeah.
So it's challenging.
Yeah. I like to describe it as you're basically just trying to keep this balloon that represents your awareness of yourself just above the ground. Just keep tapping it before it hits the ground.
Yeah.
And people forget about you.
Yeah. No, it's a balance of that, isn't it? Between doing nothing and relying on relationships and people saying good things about you, and then going over the top.
Yeah.
So
but the lists work well. Like any times at a meetup, I would try and do like 9 things that happened at the Melbourne meetup or that you missed out on the Melbourne meetup. And it'd be like, little conversations between people, or, someone had come to their first event for 5 years, or someone arrived on their own, or, little things like that. So
yeah, awesome.
They go down much better than like, thanks for coming, everyone. So,
all right, good to know.
Lead with that.
No, let's workshop this. So 5, I was going to do 5 great decisions.
Yep.
5.
Well, that's a bit sort of like self-congratulatory though.
But not of decisions I've made.
Oh, okay.
Of other things that I've seen around the business.
Right, okay.
Like the one I just said, the decision to open the gates.
Okay. Well, as long as you're anchoring it towards Golf Australia, then
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Not
Josh Marton.
literally none was going to be about us. Maybe getting Rory, the PGA Awards panel picking Minjee for her 4th PGA Award. The decision to acquire golf.com.au, which is our new joint website. So yeah, basically nothing I did. And I'll make it very clear that. But it's more telling the story. My purpose of that is not about myself. It's about trying to subtly tell the story of how good golf is going.
Yeah.
So that was the thinking. But then
you could do 5 things that happened behind the scenes that brought the Oz Open to life.
Yes.
And they're probably all hinged on great decisions, but you don't have to use the words great decision.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'll take that on board.
But what would a few of those be?
I just offer Oz Open specifically.
Yeah.
Well, I'm as General Manager of Public Affairs and Marketing across Golf Australia and the PGA of Australia, I'll be quite balanced across the 2 events and other things that we've got going on. We just went through a digital transformation, lots of pivotal moments, I would say, within those things. Even looking back to the Oz PGA, people would know we lost a huge bit of infrastructure through the crazy winds.
Really?
On the Monday.
Wow.
On the Thursday, we had out of nowhere flash flooding. And then on Saturday, we'd refined all of our processes to make sure we had a strong process to evacuate patrons when we knew we'd have more people there on the Saturday. I was doing that from home in prep for Oz Open and helping support that on the phone. And it turned out that it looked like we were overzealous because the big thunderstorms never came. But it was still the right decision because if a piece of infrastructure was floating around like it was a Monday when we had thousands of people there, that would have been that was full crisis averted. So Oz Open would be, I think the decision to open the gates, the decision to enlist Jared for the Q&A, that really set the tone for the whole week. I think that was really strong. The decision to get Rory and invest in that, I think was really strong. Simple things like just even you experienced the GA Lounge up at up the top there. That was unbelievable.
To serve a glazed ham.
Yeah, exactly.
We were commenting that was probably the best spread we've ever had in sport, hands down.
We made a decision, so maybe we'll get a bit self-congratulatory. We made a decision to move away from the rebrand that we did 3 years ago when the events were together. And so that was all a new brand identity for the Australian Open. We've got the same brand ID for the men's Australian Open and the women's Australian Open. And they're actually just called the Australian Open. You'll see on there, says men down there. And so for the women's event, that becomes the Patricia Bridges Bowl.
Yep.
And that just then turns into women and turns into Adelaide as our host. So having the same brand ID and just the whole look and feel of it, I think came up really well at the event. So that was a good call.
Looked very slick.
SE Creative and Future Brand did that for us, so they did an unbelievable job with that. Here's another thing that I said we shouldn't do, have a different secondary font.
Yeah.
Which I actually think came up unbelievably well.
You need a bit of diversity.
Bit of energy.
Yeah, exactly.
So another thing I was wrong about, one of many. I'm sure there was lots of other good decisions.
No virtual seats at the golf.
No virtual seats next year for the Australian Golf Foundation.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's 1,000 other moments, 1,000 other things that we did. We were sold out on the weekend and we still we made sure on the Saturday that we had some tickets that you could buy on the box office if people made the effort to come. And we sold like 40 tickets on the box office, and it ended up raining. So it's really hard at a golf event to work out how many people you can let in. Sunday was pretty packed. So I think we got it just right. And if we had another 2,000 or 3,000 more people, it would have been a bit of a battle. But I think that was a good call to make sure fans had the opportunity to get in if they made the effort to go and are used to buying on the gate, because we're not quite used to the supply and demand issues that we're faced with. I'm sure there are plenty others.
I want to ask about the marketing side of your job, because you mentioned that you did do the double degree, but you've always worked on the comms side. Using myself as an example, I've forgotten a lot of what I learnt at university. So where did did you retain a lot of that knowledge from the marketing side, or did you learn a lot of that on the job? But basically, where did that skill set of the marketing function develop for you to be able to step into a general manager of that?
Very good question. And when you go back to the question you asked me before about like career trajectory, I always knew I wanted to get that experience, and I tried to do that the whole way through. So even when I got the job at Fox, I came second for like a marketing manager job at Fox. So could still be doing that for all I know. And then even when I was at cricket, I kind of led our collaboration with the marketing team with Nancy and Nat, and tried to bring that closer. And we ended up being in the same department, which was awesome. And in many ways, my role was sitting in between like the hardcore media management side, which Alex Brown led, and I was head of consumer comms, so looking after more our proactive PR, our corporate social media channels. And then head of marketing, Nancy, was sitting alongside my role. And so that helped, like that created that connection and got really across what they were doing in the marketing space, but tried to connect what we did. So even things like often, marketers will try and implement a brand voice, and then the comms team will just throw it out the window because like, whatever, we write like sports people write. And so being part of those types of projects was helpful. Remember, don't forget I said I actually only finished my marketing degree in 2021.
Yeah.
So I'd been doing it the whole time. During COVID, I even did some marketing comms consulting to Japan Cricket Association. Nice. Toby Cohen set that up for me because I didn't work for 2 months in the stand down period. So in that 2 months, this is classic me. In the 2 months, I finished 3 uni subjects because I had 3 to go, and the Uni SA just moved to awesome online modules. So in 2 months of not working, I finished 3 uni subjects, and I did a consulting gig to Japan and wrote a marketing and communications plan for them with Alan Carr, who is still there at Japan Cricket because they're not flushed with resource. So I was always really interested in it. And to your point around I think ideally I would have had like a more junior marketing role in my career, but studying it the whole time, working closely with people. And then when I started at golf, I was head of marketing and comms for a few months while Karina Keisler was still there. And then the point was to take over from her after a couple or few months. So I had some time to kind of do that. I literally in my second month of work, I was suddenly leading a brand architecture project across Australian golf, because I worked for 2 very distinct organisations, and we'd tried to work out how do we bring those 2 things together. So yeah, I loved my marketing degree at Uni SA. Ehrenberg Bass Institute, Byron Sharp, for anyone that's heard his principles of marketing, which are not like traditional marketers view it, like the Ritson type view of brand loyalty. And Byron Sharp, through marketing science, believes that it's all about habitual behaviour. It's about building salience. It's about being distinctive, not about being unique. Like, don't worry about being unique. You just need to actually stand out, and you need to be likable. So I really resonated with that and always wanted to get experience in that space. And to be honest, I'm probably more passionate about the marketing brand holistic side now than I am about the comms side. I'm just become proficient in the comms side. So I love the fact I get to do both in my job, and probably seek more exposure on the marketing side in the future.
It sounds like the technical skills you've built up in journalism and comms have prepared you well to do what you're doing now, which is really cool to see. We might wrap it up there, but thank you so much for coming in. And I have admired the way you've gone about your career for a long, long time. So to be able to hear it and hear some other stories that are new to me as well has been an absolute delight. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this will take a lot of out of the way that you've approached your career. So thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks, Reuben. Cheers.
Hey guys, quick one. Are you either A, dreading going back to work tomorrow, or B, on a mission to fulfill your potential and get there as quickly as possible? If so, then you need to apply for the SportsGrad Method program. The program is designed to help you get a full-time job in sport as quickly as possible, and inside it, I distill the lessons I've learned from asking over 300 people how they got a job in sport. I'm talking professionals from the AFL, Premier League, cricket, NBA, Olympics, you name it. And I've combined it with the methods that not only got me hired by Cricket Australia before graduating, but also helped me double my salary during COVID. SportsGrad has helped people land over 700 roles in sport, and this program takes the guesswork out of an industry where most people think you need to get lucky. To apply for the SportsGrad Method program, head to www.sportsgrad.com.au/program.